Good evening, everyone. Welcome. It is once again Friday night. It is 7 p.m. That can only mean one thing. It is time for our weekly 1 hour live stream. And we are just going to sit back and have a little fun this week. We're breaking away from our normal topic. And we have got my longtime friend, Tim, here joining us.
Hello, everyone.
Tim, you've been on the channel before, but it's been a little while.
It has been.
So,
just time and stuff.
What were you? Do you recall what you were here for last time we had you?
I believe we were talking about the two Titanic films, Night to Remember and James Cameron's Titanic. Yeah.
Yeah, we did a compare and contrast, giving our thoughts and opinions on James Cameron's 1997 film, and of course, A Night to Remember, and sharing our thoughts on those. And Tim, I know that was the first time you saw that movie, like a few days or so before.
Yes,
we recorded that. How have you been since? Have you gone back and watched that movie again since?
I have not. I have not gone back and watched that movie. It's not. I don't know. It's not readily available, so I don't have the opportunity to go back and watch it. Whereas, the James Cameron Titanic film, I own digitally, so I could just pop on my Apple TV or my laptop or my phone and say, you know what, I'm in the mood for Titanic. I'll watch it. So
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't know. I thought the movie had some pacing issues, so I don't know if I'll go back, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. You never know. Well, joining us tonight, we've got a few folks in here tonight with us. Some of our regulars. We've got Buddy, we've got Mark, we've got Max, we've got Aaron, we've got Karen, we've got Steve. So yeah, we've got a nice little crew joining us.
Great.
Yeah. So, Tim, before we get rolling, real quick, one of the reasons I wanted to bring you in for this particular topic is, you and I go back a very long time. When it comes to like science fiction stuff and some stuff outside of science fiction, we have a lot of similar interests. Horror being, of course, the one exception where we kind of differ a little bit.
It's the one blind spot. Like, okay, no, that's fine.
Right. You're like, I'm good. No, really.
I'm good. Supernatural is where I draw the line.
I was going to say, with the exception of a certain TV show we used to watch. But yeah. So the way we're going to do this, guys, is we've got it broken down into two categories tonight. First, we're going to discuss some science fiction ships that are personal favorites of ours. And then we will go into ships that could have existed in real life. So, Matt's here too. What's up, Matt? So Tim, we're going to kick things off. We're going to come out swinging right out of the gate. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's bring it.
Let's do it. Let's do this. Here we go. What's our first ship? Let's see. Looking for the right window. Boom, there we go. Look at
There
that.
it is. There it is.
First ship right out the bat. There we go. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Millennium Falcon.
Millennium Falcon. It's classic. It's iconic. It's everybody's lovable piece of junk. There's I mean, it speaks for
May
itself.
not look like much, but she's got it where it counts.
Got it where it counts.
So,
the junk
is she
will
your
do.
favorite Star Wars ship, though?
Not my. I've got a couple of I mean, I just thinking about it before we started, I gave you some of mine, and this was obviously one of them. I would be remiss if I didn't include it. I mean, I've got a couple of I've got a little mini Lego set of a little mini Lego that I got in an advent calendar. So and there's a reason why they keep coming out with Millennium Falcon Lego sets and why it's the most coveted, because it is so iconic. It is it's just, it's as much iconic for Star Wars as the droids are. But is it my favorite? No, not necessarily. There's a couple. And we'll talk about them. But
I would put her if she's not number one, she would probably be no lower than number two.
Sure.
She's really up there for me. And we just got a different few shots of her. And I could be wrong on this. You know Star Wars a bit better than I do, but the Falcon, even if it wasn't the Falcon, she's the only one that's been in all three sets of Star Wars movies. Like
I don't think she was. I don't think she's in the prequels.
But I mentioned that because if you remember in one of them, it's the Capitol Rotunda thing, and they have what looks like a falcon, like going up into that building.
Right.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. I do. I don't think it's a falcon per se. I just think it's something that the animators probably like, let's just throw this in there because, I think they just like to do that. Yeah, nice Easter egg. I mean, even the Millennium Falcon was in a Star Trek movie at one point.
Was she?
Yeah. I think it was 2009. They threw her in there. So
I don't remember that.
I have to find a picture, but I think it's there. But
definitely send me that. Text me that after we're done.
Definitely do
if
that.
You think about it.
Here's
another iconic Star Wars ship right here.
Oh yes, Star Destroyer. Which one is this?
This is just your classic Corellian Star Destroyer.
Okay.
Of course, it's one of the first things you ever see in Star Wars is the keel of this ship.
Right.
Remember how A New Hope opens up.
Yeah, it's that iconic image that like where we're just sucked into the world and like, oh, this is what is this big ship that we're seeing and shooting on the Tantive 4. Right. It's an iconic image for sure.
Oh, and how could we forget this quick note about the Falcon? Ugh. She can do the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs.
Yes. Not 14. Not 14.
Exactly. Eric, how you doing tonight, Eric? Eric, we're just kind of chilling and having some fun tonight, just talking about fictional ships. So that's what we're doing here tonight. Let's see, what is our next ship? Oh, we got another. This is just some artwork of the Star Destroyers.
Yeah, that's pretty.
It is very nice image. And of course, this one is a bit different.
Yeah.
You should know this ship pretty well.
Yeah, I think this is the one in Return of the Jedi where it just then hits the Death Star.
Yes.
After it was destroyed, and I remember when I saw it as a kid, I thought like, "Ooh, there's a sword in this movie,"
right?
Because it looks like a giant sword that's hitting the Death Star. It's great.
Well, this one was Vader's flagship.
Right? Is this the Executor? Yeah,
it is.
Okay.
Now, I've always wondered about that. Is it pronounced Executor or is it Executor?
I've always heard Executor.
Okay. I mean, either one works, but I was never really sure.
Sure.
You might know this question, Tim, because I don't.
Well,
I do not know.
It's just a made up word.
Yeah, I would imagine it's some sort of distance in the Star Wars universe.
Yes.
Oh, and I think I was right. Let's see. Eric's got some information for us. Here we go. Look at that.
Measurement of distance, not time. Yes.
There you go. And he's got another one here. 3.24 light years.
That is amazing.
I would have never have known that. So thank you,
Right.
Eric.
Thank
I've
you,
been wondering
Eric.
that since I was,
Since 1977.
yeah, since the first time I saw Star Wars, and I was like, what's a parsec? So let's see. I think we've got another picture of Vader's ship here. Yep, this is an actual one from Return of the Jedi.
With the Imperial shuttle, yeah.
I think this was when Vader was no, were they shuttling Luke to see the Emperor? No, that was on the Death Star.
Yeah, I don't know.
This
Maybe
might
this
have been when the command crew was trying to get they were using the Imperial code or whatever for clearance.
Or it's at the beginning of the movie when Vader's coming to the ship. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or when he's leaving the Emperor to go to the Star Destroyer.
Yes, Aaron, this is exactly what we are doing tonight. We're just having fun and chilling out. So
yes.
Eric says correction, 3.26 light years, 19.2 trillion with a T miles.
That's fast.
That is unbelievable. Like we said, as Han said, she may not look like much, but she's got it where it counts.
That's right. I saw a thing today that if the Millennium Falcon can just be like a hunk of junk and still be cool and kick butt, then you can too.
I love it. Oh, Tim,
ooh,
that's no moon.
That's a space station. That's the Death Star. Death Star number 1.
Yes. And technically, I mean, you could argue that the Death Star is a ship. It has people on it. It moves. I mean, it is a space station, but it is one that moves.
Yes, because as we saw in Rogue One, it did move, and like it was upside down for a little bit in Rogue One, and then it turned up, which was really cool. Yeah,
right. And that was one thing that I thought was really cool about that movie, because they never showed this before in the original trilogy, where they could control the amount of force, I guess.
Right, the intensity of how much destruction is going to happen, whether it's going to destroy a whole planet or it's going to destroy just a small section.
Yeah, or nuke a city,
that was really cool.
Basically. Yeah,
that was really cool. I like that as well.
So let's see what else we have for Star Wars. Now, this is an image that you sent me. I am not familiar with this show.
Yes, this is if anyone has been watching the channel that I do with my friend Vector, Trust in the Force. I'm a big fan of the Star Wars era, the High Republic, and this is a Jedi Vector. These are basically Jedi starfighters, and you have to have a lightsaber to work it. Like the lightsaber, it's basically the key. Like you put the lightsaber in, and then that activates the ship. And
that's interesting.
Yeah, and we have not seen it in live action. I mean, we had glimpses of the High Republic in The Acolyte, but we never saw this ship. So yeah, but it's in books, it's in comics, and yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I don't know why, but that just made me think of the keys you need to operate the Voltron Lions. I don't know why that made me think of that. But oh, and we're transitioning.
Star Trek.
Ah, yes. No. Live long and prosper.
There you go.
Of course, Tim, you've known me for a long time, and you know that NCC 1701 and 1701A will forever be my all-time favorite Star Trek ships. Got a model of her right there.
Nice.
Where does this Enterprise stand for you?
I think it's just below D. I know you're not a fan of the D, but that's okay. Because I grew up with seeing the Enterprise D, so that one's always going to hold a special place in my heart. At the end of Star Trek Picard season 3, we got to see we got to see it in action, and it was glorious. It was wonderful to see it again, inside and out. But this ship is probably just below that for me, because like it's just iconic. It's iconic Star Trek, and we've gotten to see it more recently in Star Trek Strange New Worlds, and that's been fun. Seeing like a little bit more updated version of the Enterprise, and that's been fun.
It's in that show, it's a slightly different version of this, but it's definitely, you could tell that's what they were going for.
Sure.
And when I say slight, I mean it's just little differences here and there that I noticed, but overall the structure is like 99.9% the same.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of a blurry shot of her, but this is definitely one of the shots from one of the movies. It's 1701A in this image, so it's got to be either when she's leaving spaceport at the very end of
Star Trek 4.
Star Trek 4, or it's a shot from either 5 or 6.
Yes, let's hope it's from 6, because the less said about 5, the better.
Oh, Eric pointed out one of the different. We were just discussing the differences. Eric says the nacelles are different.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Probably so. And I haven't seen that show in a while. I'm trying to visualize it in my head. I guess maybe I should have did a screen grab from it so we could compare. But I'm going to take Eric's word for it.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense.
Yeah. Another beautiful shot of her. And Tim, with this particular Enterprise, there is a yin to her yang.
I know where you're going. Yes. There she is.
There she is. Oh, not so wounded as we were led to believe. So
that
much
movie.
The better.
That movie's great.
The greatest Star Trek movie ever.
I don't think anybody would disagree with you on that. I think that's indisputable at this point.
Indeed.
I mean, First Contact comes close. But
I love First Contact. I do.
Yeah.
It's the best Generations movie, hands down.
Absolutely.
There's
100%.
no number 2. But and we've had this discussion many times over the years. We both hold this movie in very high regard. There's a thing where even if something is not your favorite, you can still acknowledge that it is better than your favorite.
Sure.
And I think for some folks, even if part 2 is not their favorite Trek movie, they can appreciate it for being the best made movie.
Oh, absolutely. And it's, because, Star Wars had just barely come out at this point when the first Star Trek movie came out, and they were trying to do something like that. And then they were like, Nicholas Meyer comes in, directs Star Trek 2 and just knocks it out of the park. I mean, Leonard Nimoy was like, you know what? After this, I'm done making Star Trek. I'm done with Spock. And then, halfway through making the movie, he's like, you know what? Can we do a little retcon here and make sure I don't die?
Can we leave a window? For Spock to come back? And truthfully, and I've said this before, I'm regurgitating old conversations we've had because this group has never heard this stuff before, but
sure.
Without Wrath of Khan, Star Trek would not exist today as it does.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. 100%. Yeah.
I think because the motion picture, as we always jokingly call it, the motionless picture, because it was boring to no end.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it looks great, but the story is like very lacking. But here in this film, you have not only these great looking shots of ships and stuff and the action sequence, but the themes that it does with Kirk feeling like he's out of date, that he's old, the Enterprise also feeling a little bit old and tired as well. And the fact that the titular villain and the hero of Star Trek, Captain Kirk, they're not even on screen together.
Correct.
And that just blows my mind. That's just brilliant.
And as you so brilliantly put it years and years ago, Kirk is Khan's white whale.
Oh, absolutely.
And you've got that, you've got Kirk facing his mortality, and as you say, feeling aged and dated. Maybe even the Enterprise is starting to get that way at this point. And then you've got the vengeance story, and Khan, he's got that single-minded objective. Whereas in part 3, you've got Krug, who he's a warrior and he's about honor and what in his mind seems to be like he's doing honorable things and for the good of the empire and whatnot. Khan is, I hate you, I want to murder you, and that is his single-minded objective, and he literally dies trying.
Yeah, and you mentioned the white whale thing, and because Khan he quotes Ahab several times in this film.
Yes.
And it's fantastic. I want to watch it right now.
Right? Kirk, my old friend, you know the Klingon proverb that tells that revenge is a dish that is best served cold.
Well, it is very cold in space.
I love it. I love it.
Great. It's great. It's wonderful.
And of course, we just mentioned part 3. This is where this ship makes its debut. USS Excelsior.
Yeah.
I hear she's got transwarp drive.
If my grandmother had wheels, she'd be a wagon.
Yep. Deck 9, please. Thank you. Up your shaft.
Good stuff. Yeah, it very much resembles the Enterprise B, and it's the same class of that ship.
Well, it was the same class. But here's your favorite Enterprise.
Yes.
The Galaxy class.
The Galaxy class. Let's see what a Galaxy class starship can do. I love this ship. It's to me, and for a lot of people, it is the iconic Star Trek vessel. It is the iconic Star Trek ship. Like, when people talk about Star Trek captains, they talk about Kirk and Picard, and this is Picard's ship, and it's a very nice ship. And it went toe to toe with the Borg several times, and it's great. I love it. It just looks great, and they're actually coming out with a Lego set for this, and I wish I had the money for it.
Oh wow, it's probably like $800, I imagine.
I'm sure it's going to be up there, and it's gonna have the whole crew in it too as minifigures. So I'm like, if only I had the money and the space.
Right?
Yeah.
Mark says, I've never seen any of these before. Mark, if you've seen the original Star Trek movies, you've seen the one with the Enterprise, the Reliant, the Excelsior, they were all in those movies. And of course, this was the ship for the Next Generation.
Yeah.
This
7 seasons.
Yep. And
7 seasons of a show, which is like at the time was the longest Star Trek show at the time when this show was on, and it was on 4 film. No, it wasn't 4. It was barely 1 because it got destroyed in Generations. So
in Generations,
and then they brought it back in the season 3 finale of Picard, and it was just awesome. It was great.
Eric's he's got a good comment here. My computer is named the Borg unit because the case is a big cube.
That's great. I love it.
Do not resist your computer, Eric, because remember, resistance is futile.
That's right.
Mark, not really a Star Trek fan. Okay, well, that explains it.
Okay, that's fair. But hopefully the E. This is a beauty. This
is my favorite Star Trek ship that is not 1701 or 1701A. This, of course, is...
Well, there's plenty of letters in the alphabet.
Correct. And this is the ship for the Next Generation cast that replaces the Galaxy Class D that was destroyed in Generations. This ship makes its debut in First Contact.
Mm-hmm.
Again, not even arguably, it simply is the best movie for the Generations cast.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fantastic, and very much like Wrath of Khan brings a Picard's white whale, which is the Borg, because he was captured
Yeah.
by them, he was assimilated by them, and he wants vengeance against them for what they did to him. The line must be drawn here and no further.
Here
Get
must be drawn
here,
here.
here.
Who is this? Steve says
Okay,
Captain
Captain Rachel
Rachel
Garrett
Garrett.
was the
So
captain of the sea. Was the
ah,
Enterprise C, and which made an appearance in yesterday's Enterprise, which is a great episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation.
I
And
have seen that episode.
yes, make sure that history never forgets the name Enterprise.
And it never does.
It never does, never does. But yeah, great shout out, great deep cut, Star Trek deep cut.
There's another shot of her.
Oh, that's
Beautiful.
good. That's pretty.
And Nemesis is not a very good movie, but I'm not going to lie. I talk about this a lot. The Battleship movie, where the Missouri goes out to sea and they start firing the guns and she's just freaking wailing on the alien ship. I can go back and watch that scene like 100 times in a day and not care about the rest of the movie.
Sure.
With Nemesis, when Picard takes the Enterprise and rams it into the Romulan
beautiful.
ship, that's a great scene.
I know, it's great, and because he's just like, you know what, let's just go for it. It's the last movie, let's do it. And yeah, it's a thing of beauty. Yeah. It's cinematic joy.
Ramming speed, engage, or whatever he says. Oh, I'm sorry, Steve. I watched that episode like one time in my life just so I could see what the Enterprise C looked like. I was not watching The Next Generation at the time it was on the air. I was only focused on the movies. So I went and watched episodes here and there, for Next Generation long after the fact.
Right.
So, but I think that's the last Star Trek ship. Let's see what we have next.
There shouldn't be.
No.
This one's mine.
I forgot about this one.
This is the USS Defiant, and this is the ship that appears in like the third season of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, which is my favorite Star Trek show. It's I got a calendar here in my bedroom, and this is basically a battleship. It's a Star Trek battleship. That's its purpose, because it was built after the Borg attacked, and the Federation is like, well, we need a ship that's gonna fight the Borg. So they built the ship to fight the Borg, and a war between the Federation and another group of aliens called the Dominion, which has Jem'Hadar, shapeshifters, and aliens like that. And that ship is the way it moves, the way it it doesn't need a huge crew, because its sole purpose is to be a battleship, and I love this ship.
I wish I could. I would have thought about it. I'd have found some pictures from a game that I used to play. It was Empires at War. It was a very old Star Trek game. Came out like around 2000 or so, and they had their version of battleships in that game. And holy bejesus, they were massive things, and a lot of times you could one-shot a ship just from everything this thing fired all at one time when everything was fully loaded and ready to go. They were amazing. Monsters.
Yeah, there's some great cinematic stuff in Star Trek Deep Space Nine near the end of the show, when because the Federation is at war, and you just have this fleet of Star Trek ships ready to attack, and it's gorgeous. It's lovely. I love it.
So we're transitioning to something else, and this was one you sent to me. I am not familiar with this ship.
This is the Serenity. This is the ship that is.
I know what it is now. The second you say that,
Firefly. I would be remiss if I didn't include this. She's great. Like, good ship, be with you to the day you die. I love this ship. It's almost like another character in the show. You have how you have your crew of the Serenity, Mal, Kaylee, Wash, everybody in Firefly, but without the Serenity, they don't have anything. And it's a gorgeous looking ship. I actually saw a picture of and I'll have to share this with you sometime, but what this ship would look like if it was a Star Trek ship. It was pretty cool.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I have to find it. But yeah, I stumbled onto it. So yeah, I love this ship. It's awesome.
Oh, here's a long debated question.
I'm not touching that one.
I mean, is there really a difference? I mean, aren't they essentially the same thing?
Not real. I mean, it's just like, what's the difference between FTL, warp drive, hyperdrive,
Right.
starburst, and farscape? You know, it's what gets the ship fast. It's what gets the ship away from enemy ships or what have you, and it basically accomplishes the same purpose. But yeah, basically the same thing.
Essentially, yes. And this I do not know at all.
This
So
is
what would we
Babylon
look-
5. This is, I mean,
Ah,
it doesn't move, but but Babylon 5 is a recent discovery for me. I discovered this in 2020 when I was sick, and my wife says, "You love this show, watch it," and I did, and it's got some pretty cool looking ships as well. But this is the home base of everybody. It's if a space station was like a cruise ship, Babylon 5 would be it. And it's the opening of the show describes it as 5,000 tons of spinning metal all alone in the night. And
5,000 tons? That's not very big.
That's what they say in the show. I don't know how true it
Wow.
is, but
Okay.
but
Well,
yeah, it's a great looking ship. I really like it. It's and that but like when the spoiler the space station gets destroyed at the end of the show, I won't lie. I it gets a little dusty in the room.
it's kind of like watching Enterprise in Star Trek 3.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
My God, Bones, what have I done?
What you always do. Turn death into a fighting chance to live.
Yep. Now, you're going to know this one very well.
Ah, yes. It's funny. It's funny. We were talking about, FTL and all this stuff. And, I think you can agree with me on this one. Is one of the most iconic shots sequences in this entire show is when the Galactica goes into the atmosphere of New Caprica and just jumps. And it's just like, because Adama's just like the ship's shaking, he just goes jump, boom. It's awesome. It's great. I love it.
And I would be I have to say that this Battlestar Galactica, the 2004 remake, is my hands down all-time favorite TV show.
Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, you would be crazy not to at least put it up there in your top 10.
Oh, for sure. And even back in the day when I would have considered Supernatural like my number one, BSG was always going to be like my number 2 or number 3.
Sure, it was definitely like you never wanted to miss an episode.
Definitely not.
Every episode was important, and I mean, say what you will about the finale. Oh, the spinning ship.
Yes, this was, of course, the fleet that Galactica had to protect. This is all that remained of the human civilization.
Right. I think I see a Viper in there.
Let's see, Aaron. There was at least 4 seasons.
Yes, 4 seasons. Aaron. 4 seasons.
There were 4 seasons.
Yeah, 4 great
seasons. And this is another discussion we've had off air. At one time, Smallville was your hands down favorite show, and Supernatural was mine at that time. And we have both our, as you, no one ever, we're not static. We all change. Our thoughts change. Our feelings change. Our likes and dislikes change. And I know you have said that is not your favorite show anymore. Supernatural is not my favorite show anymore. It still will always have a special place in my heart, but BSG, number 1.
Yeah, it's fantastic. The writing, I mean, the the ship effects are just fantastic. I mean, like,
Thank you,
like,
Matt. Appreciate that.
yeah. The Viper, all the different ships, the Cylon ships, the Base Star, like, they're all great ships, and they all
Oh
look
yeah.
great, and yeah, it's just a fantastic show. Um, I I tried watching the Galactus 78 show. I couldn't do it.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Steve. It was just a bit too campy for me.
Well,
That's
it was trying too hard to be Star Wars back then, and I think that what Battlestar Galactica in 2004 did, um, what it did that was unique is it actually, like, what if this actually happened to people, and
yeah.
what if this, like, it took like a hyper realistic take to it, and like explored really complex themes and ideas, and didn't try to be anything like, let's just be Battlestar Galactica, let's not be Star Wars, let's not be Star Trek, even though Ronald D. Moore, the showrunner, had a long history with Star Trek. He wrote on Next Generation. He actually wrote the script for First Contact, and so I think it's probably the most successful television reboot I think ever made.
I would not be shocked if that were the case.
Yeah.
And of course, right here, we're not looking at the Galactica, are we?
What are we looking at?
Well, another ship survived. Galactica was not the only Battlestar.
That's right, the
that survived
Pegasus.
the attack. We are looking at Battlestar Pegasus. She was the newer, more advanced ship, and I forget in the story how Pegasus survived. But
I can't remember
she
either.
obviously did. But there she is. She, for the most part, looks structurally similar to Galactica, but again, she's newer, she's more advanced, she's got better weaponry, probably much better armor, so forth and so on.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, those are. I think we're going to transition into our next category now. But so those would be all of our science fiction ships.
Okay.
Oh nope, got a couple more.
All right. What's this one?
You don't recognize this one?
Should I?
Well, I don't know. I don't know if we've ever discussed this. The name of this ship is USS Cygnus, and Eric's got it. This is where that ship is.
Black Hole.
The Black Hole, a very dark movie for Disney in 1979. Not so much. Well,
this was Disney's answer to Star Wars, because
he went dark though. Have you ever seen this movie?
I've not seen this film.
I won't say it's not inappropriate for kids, but it's dark for kids, especially in 1979.
Right. And like I said, this was Disney's answer to Star Wars, because, they were wanting, a kind of sci-fi attraction for their parks, but they didn't have a property or a film to back it. And this is before they started talking to George Lucas about Star Tours at the Disney parks. And so they were like, we're going to make a black hole attraction. And I mean, I think sometimes that didn't happen, but it would be interesting to see what would have happened if that did happen.
And I got to tell you, Maximilian, which is a red robot, it's essentially the number 2 in command of the Cygnus. Freaking scary as hell when you're a little kid. You've got this big, creaky, rustic-looking, industrialized-looking old ship, and then you've got this giant red robot, and he has like these fan blades on his shoulders, and then he can turn his hands into them, and it doesn't work out too well for old Anthony Perkins at one point. Let's see. Eric says, I expect it was named after Cygnus X1, the first black hole ever discovered. Oh, that's an interesting connection. I did not know that.
I mean, that's probably true. But yeah, I definitely like to look into that.
Steve asks, going back to BSG, in the reboot, she, being the Pegasus, was commanded by Kane, ? Yes.
That's
Edward
correct.
Kane.
That's correct.
Yes.
played by Michelle Forbes, who played Ensign Rolaren on Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Mark says Lost in Space used to be scary. I was not a big Lost in Space fan, so I've only seen bits and pieces.
Yeah, me too.
Steve, what is the ride Space Mountain based on? I do not know.
I don't think it's based on anything. I think it's just Space Mountain.
Okay. So here's a better view of a closer shot. You can
Okay.
see how industrialized looking the ship looks.
It
And she's
looks very much like a space station that NASA would build, like a ship that NASA would build,
and
or Space Force for that matter.
She's mostly stationary throughout the whole movie. So,
Mm-hmm.
but she's absolutely massive in the movie. All right, so, and I believe this is the last sci-fi ship. We're transitioning into fictional ships that could really exist, and we've got a few on here.
All right, let's see.
Well, no, this is not one. I forgot about this ship. I promised Milan I would at least show this ship. This is from the video game Dead Space, USG Ishimiru or something like that. It was called a planet cracking ship. It was a mining ship. Tim, for some reference, think of what's his name's ship in the 09 Star Trek reboot.
Oh yeah, the Nero with the Narada. Yeah.
Nero. Hello, Christopher. I'm Nero.
Great stuff.
So I would throw him. I played the original game. I beat it. I enjoyed it. And he said he bought the remake, and he said he really enjoyed that game.
Cool.
All right, here we go. Fictional ships that could have really existed. Does this ship look familiar to you, Tim?
Is this the Minnow?
She went on a 3-hour tour, or at least she was supposed to. Yep. There she is, the SS Minnow from Gilligan's Island. Tim, I'm sure we've all watched Gilligan's Island.
Oh yeah, I think everyone's watched Gilligan's Island. It's not in passing, then that was always on. The Gilligan's Island with the Harlem Globetrotters, and yeah.
The Harlem Globetrotters were on Gilligan's Island?
Yeah, for a special, they were on there.
I wonder, did they get stranded too?
I think so. I can't remember. It's been so long since I watched it.
I do not remember that. I really don't. Let's see. Who do we have next? Of course. The
What's
Pacific. This is her real name is the Pacific Princess. But one thing you'll always know about this ship, Tim, is soon we'll be making another run.
Is this the Love Boat?
The Love Boat.
Oh boy.
The real name of the ship was the Pacific Princess. They really filmed the show on the ship. So yeah, she could, the Love Boat, you could say she essentially did exist. And
yes. Going back to Harlem Globetrotters and Gilligan's Island, it was a TV film in 1981. And the Harlem Globetrotters were on a plane ride over the Pacific Ocean when it suffers engine trouble and is forced to make an emergency landing onto Gilligan's Island.
There you go. Okay, that's what it was.
Yeah.
I know if Steve's in the chat, Steve actually knows a whole lot about this ship, the real ship's history. She had 3 different names. The second name she went under was Pacific Princess. The third name she went under was simply Pacific. I forget what her first name was, but that ship was actually scrapped in 2013.
Okay.
So yeah, the Love Boat was indeed a real ship.
Wow.
I don't know if they ever did. I do not know. I should have sought to research this, but I didn't. If they ever actually said what the ship's name, the fictional name of the ship in the show, I do not know. Let's see. Yep, and there's I think that's a picture of her later in her life. Not a very large ship. Uh, D Hum, welcome. What do we got here? What's funny with Love Boat? The TV censors were okay with the doctors sexually harassing and sometimes drugging hot chicks in every episode. Holy, but
Well,
Jesus!
it was the 70s and the 80s, I guess.
I did not. I never really watched the show that much, so that's a new one on me. Yikes! Wow. Yeah. Well, as we know, back in those times, TV was not quite as politically correct as it is today. That's all I can say. Steve, I just told you I don't remember her original name. What was Pacific
It says
Princess's
the main
original
ship
name?
featured the series was set on the cruise ship MS Pacific Princess.
Right, but that was the second name of the ship. She went under three different names in her life.
I see.
So she was probably Pacific Princess at the time the show was being filmed.
It was originally built in Germany as the Norwegian MSC Venture.
Ah, Sea Venture. Okay. Eric says, not a bad looking ship. No, she's really not. She's
No,
not a bad looking ship.
It's not a bad looking cruise ship. I wouldn't mind going on a cruise on that thing.
She's pretty small, but
Yeah.
yes. And there we go. Sea Venture. There we go.
There you go. There you go. We passed.
Yeah, we cheated, but we passed.
That's right. I phoned a friend.
Let's see.
That
Who do
friend
we
was Google.
have next? Ah, yes, of course. Now we already did discuss this, guys. This is USS Keeling, code name Greyhound, portrayed by USS Kidd in the movie Greyhound. And I won't say too much about it because if you guys go back a couple of weeks and watch our most recent discussion with Tim Nesmith from the USS Kidd Museum, we talked a good bit about the Greyhound movie, but again, she's another fictional ship that could really exist, and a real ship was used for her, so that's why I threw her in here real quick. Steve says, going back to Pacific Princess, it was sponsored by Princess, so they usually refer to her by her name, Pacific Princess.
Good old product placement saving the day.
Gotcha. Thank you for the correction, Steve. So let's see him. There's another shot of her. I'm guessing you haven't seen this movie, Tim.
I have not seen this movie.
Are you a Tom Hanks fan?
I like Tom Hanks.
This is worth watching. Even if you're not into the big like war movies and all this stuff. I mean, Tom Hanks alone.
It's an Apple TV movie, right?
It is.
Okay, I thought I heard of it before. Give it a shot. Let's give it a look.
Let's see. Ah, here's one of yours.
Yes, the Black Pearl from Pirates of the Caribbean.
Absolutely.
She's a real ship. Black sails.
Yep. And I threw her. I threw a shot of her in here as well. There it is, and I would imagine that's a still from one of the movies. I would think.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. Yeah, I was trying to find one that really captured what it looked like. So yeah,
I think you got it.
Yeah,
and that's the thing with some of these ships. There's a lot of interpretation from different people as to what they could have looked like. Because there's like no one set look. I mean, with the Black Pearl, you have. In my thought process is you go off of what was in the movie. That's what she should have looked like. But, some people may have a different interpretation of what it looked like, and that's fine.
Right.
Let's see. I don't think you'll know this one, Tim.
No, fill me in.
Any horror fans out there will know very well what this ship is. This obviously is called the Demeter. And this is the ship that was in the original novel of Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Ah.
The ship is fictional, of course, but it was based on a real life ship called the Dimitri, which was like a Russian brigantine, and she was sailing, I think, somewhere from Eastern Europe to England. Um, she encountered a bad storm, and she was sailing. I forget the name of the harbor she was trying to get into, but she didn't. She never reached her destination. She took refuge in a certain harbor. I forget the name of it. I think it was Whitby or something. And she almost hit some rocks, but the captain was good enough to avoid all the rocks and get her into the harbor. But essentially, she would run aground anyway, and she was abandoned. So if you know the story of Dracula, the Demeter, the fates are of the ships are not similar, but because I mean, vampires, Dracula, you can imagine something terrible happened. And supposedly, when Bram Stoker heard the story of the Dimitri, is where he got the idea for the Demeter. And yep, that is the story of the Demeter or Dimitri. A few more shots of her. And she's one of those ships, there's a lot of interpretation as to how she could have looked as well.
Right.
Because you've got different movies that have her look one way or another. You've got Bram Stoker's Dracula from 1990. You've got the Nosferatu movie that just came out, I think, last month, and they're never going to look the same.
Right.
This is another one you probably would not know. Don't worry, there are more that you know before we get to the end here.
Okay.
Horror movie fans will know this ship as well. She's a cruise ship, as you can see. Well, she might have been an ocean liner. Her name is the Antonia Graza. Yep. Look at Steve. He knows. The Antonio Graza. And she is from the movie Ghost Ship.
I thought this is where we were going with this.
Yes.
It's a movie I only know of in passing, but
yeah. I know your tastes, of course. I would recommend reading the Dracula book because I mean it's by today's standards, it's obviously very, very tame.
Sure.
This movie, I would not recommend to you based on what I know about your tastes.
Right.
There's content in it that you would not care for too much.
Sure.
But yeah, anyway, that's the ship, the Antonio
nice
Graza.
looking.
It is. It's a very nice looking ship. Not so much towards the end of the movie.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Well, and the name of the movie is Ghost Ship, so it's kind of self-explanatory. It's
right.
It's a ghost ship. Something very horrific happens in the beginning of the movie, and the ship kind of goes missing for decades. And all of a sudden, she appears out of nowhere. A crew on a tugboat, they find her. And of course, when you find something like that, you have salvage rights. Yeah, that's how it works in real life. And they go aboard and they want to claim her. They want to tow her back and, make all this money because they discovered her. And, madness ensues.
because obviously it's not going to go south.
No, of course not. Not in a horror movie.
I mean, any movie.
Buddy wants to know, did this ship sink? So this movie is 20 years old at this point. I don't feel bad about spoiling it. Yes, it does. And let's see. What do we have next? Aaron says, looks like the ship in Poseidon 2. Huh. Interesting. Yep. And that's more like an artist rendition of the ship, I believe.
Like when you first pull up the ship, I thought it was the Poseidon. So,
well, speaking of which, there we are.
All right.
So this would be the SS Poseidon from the 2006 remake called Poseidon, because as we all know, the original movie was called the Poseidon Adventure. And Tim, have you ever seen either one of those movies?
I have not. You've mentioned to watch Poseidon Adventure, and I haven't gotten there yet.
Definitely. The 2006 remake is it's not very good. That's the best I can say about it. I mean, I've seen worse movies, but it's just not a very good movie. Um, and I'm mentioning this one instead of course, we all know the Queen Mary was the SS Poseidon in the original Poseidon Adventure. But a few weeks ago, Steve and I did an entire like hour and a half or whatever it was episode where we simply talked about the Poseidon Adventure and the Queen Mary's role. So if you guys want to hear that, it is of course available. The replay is available on my channel and it is available on Steve's channel. Let's see. Steve's here we go. Steve, they stole a lot of Queen Mary 2's features. Queen Mary 2 still looks better than this ship. Mark, original Poseidon is better. Well, yes, because she's based off the Queen Mary. What does Buddy say here? Why SS Poseidon, since it is a modern ship, it should be called the MV Poseidon. Well, I think what happens there, Buddy, is of course, you know, back in like Titanic's day and all that, SS stood for steamship, but I think those letters change meaning over time. She may not have even been called SS Poseidon in this movie. She might have just simply been Poseidon. I don't remember. It's been a long time since I watched this movie because, like I said, in my opinion, it's just not a very good movie.
Sure.
So, Mark said SS could have meant sailing ship. So there you go. I mean, do they even use MV anymore? Steve says no, not sailing ship. And that's an actual still from the movie. That this right here, oh geez, that looks bad. I mean, it's like I want to pour water down it and, you know, treat it like a slip and slide or something.
it doesn't look like a cruise ship or any kind of ship that you'd see. It looks like something out of a sci-fi movie or something.
At least that front end of it does. I mean,
yeah, it does. Yeah.
The rest of it looks more like a modern cruise ship, and
the front of it looks like Star Trek.
Yeah, for real. That's a good way of saying it. But he says, I like the old ocean liners better. Well, I think the vast majority of the folks in this chat do. And I don't know if I've got any. Nope, that is it. That's what we got. Let's see. Eric says, it looks like the guy from Spy versus Spy. So, I think that's what we've got for you this week, guys. We're approaching that 1 hour mark. Tim, before we go, of course, you know, pump out your social media.
You can find you. If you want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm instagram.com/Tim Writes Today. I have a Star Wars channel that I host with my friend Vactor and my friend Kevin. We just wrapped up Skeleton Crew, talking about that show, and we're about to go into a rewatch of Andor season 1 before season 2 premieres in April. And it's going to be an interesting thing because I was not actually hot on Andor. A lot of other people were, but I wasn't. So it's going to be interesting. So, but that's it. But that YouTube channel is called Trust in the Force. So just you go to YouTube, Trust in the Force, and you'll find it.
Excellent. And let's see. Where there was one more comment I wanted to see. Oh, Matt said, forgot the flying.
Yes, that's a classic ship from not only Pirates of the Caribbean, but from ship mythology.
Yeah.
So it was even talked about in Supernatural in that awful ghost ship episode.
Oh yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I've seen a couple of Titanic comments. We didn't discuss Titanic
because it was real.
Tonight. Yes, because Titanic was a real ship. That's why we didn't discuss Titanic tonight. But I got to get one thing in about Titanic. Just one thing. So, the folks in the Discord will know I have been working for a while on the Kobe Titanic model. Um, I have completed that model and I am ready to show it to you guys.
Oh boy, I'm so excited.
So we end with a real ship. So
All right.
it's been sitting next to me this whole time, and I kind of have to drag it here a little bit because it's 1/300 scale. It's like 34 inches long.
It's
So
huge.
I got to get it right here where I can pick it up and not drop the thing. So
That
here we
would be
go.
awful because then all that work would have just been out the drain.
Yes, and I don't feel like putting it all back together again.
Who does? Who does? Who does?
Buddy says Lego Titanic. I love Titanic. No, this is not a Lego Titanic, buddy. It's Kobe. So I mean, it's like Lego, but it's not the official Lego one. But without further ado,
a lot of Lego enthusiasts will call it fake Lego.
there you go. But I think once you guys see this, you're gonna say, you know what? That's a good looking model. Here we go, guys.
It looks awesome.
There we go. And how can I? There we go. Like, let me see if I got to back up here so you guys can see the whole thing in the camera. And
Yeah, turned out really good.
Let's go from bow to stern.
And there's if you go to Amazon, you'll find a bunch of fake Lego Titanic sets that some are real easy to put together, and some are are quite a challenge. And you can have your variety. So
the way they set this kit up was and of course, name is on the back of the ship right there. And the way they set it up was you had like 12 bags of parts. And I say bags like that big. And then had multiple small bags like this.
Oh, boy.
It's 2,848 pieces total. So, yeah, it's funny because they start off with you start off building the stern section, and then you eventually you work your way forward, and then when you're about halfway done, you connect the two pieces, the bow and the stern, and you have like this giant. I'm trying to hold this thing. You have like this giant gaping chasm right here when you connect the two pieces, and then you build up and forward from there. And the very last thing you do is right the same spot you start off with the ship. You start off building the stern section. The very last thing you do is attach the rudder section.
Nice.
I thought that was kind of poetic, that they.
Yeah. It sounds the process sounds complicated, but
it wasn't. It wasn't really complicated. The only thing that I really got annoyed with was actually the rigging. The rigging was extremely tedious. I'd rather rig a scale model kit than rig that Kobe kit. It was really annoying.
Right. And for those keeping track at home, his Kobe was, what did you say, like 2,000 pieces?
2,848.
For those keeping track at home, the Lego set, just pulled it up here, is 9,090 pieces.
Gracious.
That is huge.
For real. And it's like 4 feet long. I did the measurements.
Huge. Yeah, it's and $680 and yeah.
So Eric, it took me probably a few weeks to build it. I'd work on it for about an hour and a half, during the weeknights, and I would hit it really hard on the weekends. And Eric, actually, if you want to see this kit, you can see this kit in person if you like. At the USS Kidd Veterans Museum, they have this actual kit on display with some other Kobe kits. Yeah.
Nice.
Where
did you get this kit?
Amazon or eBay.
Okay.
eBay. Yeah, because as I understand it, these kits are discontinued.
Okay.
So I had to hurry up and get one.
Right.
Before they're not available anymore. Steve says, do they make lighting kits for that? Not for this one that I am aware of, Steve. But yeah, you can see this kit in person, Eric. Park Stevenson built his own along with a few other ships, and he put those on display at the USS Kidd Veterans Museum.
Very nice.
So that is it for this week, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Tim, this was a lot of fun. Enjoyed chatting with you again, as always. We got to think of other topics to get you back on.
Absolutely. We'll probably think of something.
Most definitely. So content schedule is, as always, our live streams are every Friday evening for 1 hour at 7:00 p.m. Central U.S. time. Our weekly videos of the week are 7 a.m. Central U.S. time, and our random video shorts are every weekday, Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Central time. And I think we've got company.
Yes, my kids are coming in, so it's time for me to go. So
yep, good.
Got a brother. All right, adios, everybody.
Good night, everybody, and until the next time, drive safely.